on, Todd Shaw with another episode of the Sawdust Dude. Got a cool little woodworking project for you today. My friends over at the National Wild Turkey Federation having their spring turkey hunt, and they wanted some signs. Woo! Yeah, something looks like this. So, you know, I helped those guys out, and this particular hunt, they've got the wheeling sportsmen, handicapped people, going to be there doing some hunt, and also a spring youth day. So I wanted some signs that say, can you make me some plaques? So, you know, anybody can build a plaque and kind of stick it on the wall. I wanted something a little different, a little over the top, and so I came up with this little design here. So I'm going to carry you through the process of how do you make this sign. We're going to use the CNC machine with the world famous Hula Girl CNC machine. We're going to use it with the laser attachment. We're going to use the Craig router table, some hand tools, and a dovetail cutting saw, and different types of wood glues and things like that. So you gotta stay tuned and check this one out. In particular case, I had some pine that I got from Lowe's, and nowadays they call this it's half inch. It's like a 1x6, and they call it hobby wood. And so it's already milled down, and it's a yellow pine, and I knew that the laser would work well on that. But then I also had some of this wenge wood, W-E-N-G-E, wenge wood, and it's from Africa. It smells like monkeys. No, it's a real solid wood. Hear that? It's a real hardwood, real dense. And so it works out real well for a base. And so you can see how the difference once you get, I've got 2 coats of clear coat on this, and you can see how well it really pops. Now, I love using two-tone woods anytime I can. Speaking of turkeys, this is a turkey call I made years ago, and it's got 3 different types of wood in it. And so anyway, I love doing this. It's got the inlays in it and different things, different little techniques I've used on this turkey call. And so I call this one Killer. Yeah. Anyway, I love using different species of wood in one project because it really just kind of makes it pop. You can stain it out or paint it, you know, different things, but just something about different species of wood that really just like, it throws in that wow factor. So let's go over to the CNC machine and we'll check it out. Let me just take you real quickly through this step. This is the program that I use, VCarve Desktop. And so anyway, just come over here to create a new file. Plop that down. It'll give you the size. That was the dimensions that I was using, 8.5 wide by 5.5 high. This is on the inches and not millimeters, but on the inches here. But it is on like an engineering scale. So, you know, 0.5 is a half inch, 0.75 is 3/4. You know, so you got to understand that when you're going into it. So then it gives me, and this is my working area. So let's just say I wanted to do the National Wild Turkey Federation. Kind of come up here to this little box. This is going to give me a bitmap. This is my file that I want to trace. Try to find my design over here. CNC picks, and then to come down here, and there it is there. You know, so then I put that in there. Well, the computer cannot read that as far as the CNC machine. And so I come over here, and I always say this looks like a little chicken, but it's a trace bitmap to turn it into a vector file. Come down here, and I'll take the fade all out of it. Hit preview, and then apply. And so really I have 2 files here now, and we'll just, I can close this out here. And that's the original file, and I'll just delete it. Now I've traced that out, and so that the computer can read that file now. It's a vector file. And let's just say I want to add some words. I know that my fonts, that Georgia, and you'll figure out which ones to use, but let's just do 20, 21, and let me just type out. And then hit apply, and that'll pop down there. So let's close this out. I can come over here, highlight that, just left click it, come over here, and this will line it up for me. So now that's all centered up, and let's center up this file here. Close this out. There we go. Get that centered up where I want. That's good. And close it out. I'm going to hit the little transform mode so I can. There we go. And so let me just move that up, and I'm just kind of hitting the arrow up there, and I'll do the same for this, and then bring it up. And I'm just giving you the basics of this. Now what we'll do is just kind of highlight all of this. And so that's what I want my sign to be. I come over here in tool paths. Now for the excuse me, for the laser, I'll come over here to a quick engrave tool path. You see I've already got it set up for laser. There's no need to do, and you can do, I'm just going to do an outline. Then all you do is hit calculate. It calculates the path that it needs to take. All right, so if you watched the video of the micro shop tour that I did some time ago, you know we talked about the Hula Girl CNC machine. This particular machine I've had for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. It is a Next Wave automation, and it's the CNC Shark II. Is the brand that I use here, and I kind of did some research on them. It's affordable for my shop size, and at the time I was making before the whole COVID thing kind of came about. I had a retail shop, and I was making signs and doing real well with that for a little. Even though I do this for a living, it was kind of like a part-time gig, and it was a little side job, and but it was fun. I could go and interact and sell t-shirts and all that other good stuff. Now you gotta go to the website, sawdustdude.com, if you want to buy some gear. But anyway, so I was doing that kind of stuff, and I really enjoyed it. Then the whole COVID thing. So the old Hula Girl thing here is just kind of, she's been sitting around a little bit. She needs to get back to work. So here it is. I've got, but most of the time I do stuff, it's like 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. So it's little small signs like the plaque that we did for the Turkey Federation. But this is a great little machine, a great woodworking tool, something that you can use in small micro shops. I've got a buddy who's got a huge, massive CNC machine, does woodworking with, does a lot of laser engraving, Laser Larry in South Carolina. Yeah, check him out. So, you know, they're great tools. It's a great tool to have in your shop. Doesn't take up a lot of space. Downside is about $3,000. But you know, if you got a way to make money off of it, you know, it's an employee, and so put her to work. I just threw the little Hula Girl on there because just to kind of jazz it up a little bit. Now, you know, a lot of people will say, and I really don't want to get into this discussion because people say, well, that's not woodworking. You know, I'm not even going to go down that road because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because this is woodworking. This is just a tool I use to do woodworking with. You still don't use hand saws, and I guarantee you there are power tools in your shop. And, you know, 40, 50 years ago, just like I told you about the guys that are less like 40 years ago, the guys who started out using pneumatic nailers, and they're like, that's not woodworking, that's not carpentry. Well, guess what, you know? So, guys, don't go there. You know, just enjoy it. But there's nothing easy about this. This thing will frustrate you in a heartbeat because you can be a tenths, hundredths, or a thousandths off, and it's going to mess up your work. Here's a good example. A lot of times I'll do a test burn or a test run with the CNC machine just to see how it's going to work out. Here's one I was feeling all good about, and then look over here. For some reason, the dot on the eye is not centered over the eye. Here's the same sign that I ran, and somehow it got off down here. And so it's all like doubled and tripled up. Well, I couldn't let that go out of the shop, even though this is a donation and it's free. I don't want to do crappy work just because it's free. So I had to run that new other sign. I had to clear it out. So with this, there are all types of little issues that you have to deal with on the CNC machine. And you just, like I said, it could be down to the hundredths, thousandths of an inch. And so it can do that. So here's the control panel for the Shark II machine, and it goes through the little warnings, and that's for the lawyers and everything. And of course, you got an X, Y, and Z. It runs on 3 different axes, or axi, however you want to say it. And you know, you just see how the machine kind of moves up and down, and kind of like that. And then I just got my little thumbnail drive, and I just put that in. So I've got my program all set up, and we'll just tap one of these that I use with the laser, and it'll just go through a series of questions and everything. It's got the parameters that it runs on, the material stock and all that. And then one of the cool things when you're running a laser, that sometimes you can go too fast and it won't burn real heavy, or it can burn too much. So you have to kind of play around with this, and as far as like the override, and that's really how slow or fast the machine will operate. And usually I run around 50 or so on the laser engraver, and even the CNC machine when it's got a router bit. And then you just hit start, and then of course, you know, hey, danger, laser, 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 and all that stuff. So anyway, that's just a little bit about that. Now we've got our signs all made up, and I need to just kind of marry them to the base. And so I'm going to just use a mortise and tenon method, and the tenon will kind of act as the sign. It's just 1/2 inch stock, and I've come over here to my Craig router table and got a 1/2 inch bit. That's just a channel bit that's just going to cut it just straight across. And so I've got my winch wood, and so over here, and so I have my my stock that I want to use. Always inspect it to see which side is best for up or down. So if it's got any tear outs or bad spots, you want to put that on the down side. Also, if it has a crown in it, you know, you look down the wood like this and see if it's bowed up, and that would be a crown in it. And so if it has a crown, you want the crown up, because otherwise, if you put the crown down, then your plaque would kind of teeter-totter. Now you can fix that just by putting little felt pads on the bottom just to kind of level it back out to rise it up above the crown. But you know, if you do it this way, looking at your stock, that'll kind of save that a little. But you know, like I said before, a good finish carpenter can hide his mistakes, or the mistake in the wood. So I've got this just centered up so that it's going to go down about a 3/16 of an inch, and we'll just router that in, and then I can glue my sign in there. Now on this particular one, I'm just going to run the mortise all the way through the whole stock. I could take time to figure out where to start it and stop it, and each sign would have to be different depending on the length of the sign or the plaque I'm making. But for this one, I'm just going to run it all the way through, and I'll show you a little tip how to kind of fix that up or dress it out a little bit. All right, one of the things that, you know, when you're using a router machine or a router table, gosh, that thing just spins at a gazillion miles an hour, and you want to keep those fingers out of the way. So on a stock that's about a 1/2 inch thick, I really want to keep my fingers out of the way, and because if that thing would kick out or kick back or something like that, it would, yeah. I work with these. I want to protect them. So I use one of these. It's a push pad, but you know, see how it's kind of beveled like that, and so the bevel's towards you, so you're not straight up and down. It makes it a little bit easier. But hey, there's nothing easier than building a push stick like this, and this is an old scrap piece of 2x4, and I notched it out the same thickness of my stock, and so that it would just ride right there. See how I notched that out? And that's $0. Just a scrap piece of wood. Because you think about it, you know, you let that router bit spinning right there, you let that dig into your fingers. Think how much money that would cost, how much time you would lose. Man, a scrap piece of wood in 5 minutes, man, you just save yourself a lot of heartache. Out. So here we are, and I've got my sign is just going to fit down in here like this, and that one fit real well. But you kind of see how I've got the mortise, and that just doesn't, I mean, it looks okay, but I want it finished out a little bit more. So what I did, I took a scrap piece of stock, and I measured, and I just went over to the bandsaw and cut little strips, and those strips will act like an inlay, and will just fit in there. See how that's good and snug? And when you do this, make sure that the grain is just going the same way. You know, you don't want to do a cross cut like that. That's real important. That's an easy way to make a simple mistake. But see how the grain, now you could even like over here, see how that grain kind of matches that in, and over here, you know, well, I got another piece, and maybe I could, you know, so you could, you know, that matches up real well. And so if it's a little tight, I'll show you what I do. See how that's not fitting in there real well? I'll show you how to fix that. A low angle plane. This is just a Stanley plane, and I'll just kind of, you put this down here like this, and I'll just ever so slightly run over that piece. And so I just want to get a fine shaving off of it. And there's an easier way to do this instead of hold it in my hand, but I just want to film it for you. You see how that's starting to fit? I just want it so it just kind of comes in play there. You can even like flip your plane upside down like this and just run that over your plane like that. That's another little tip there. And so now that fits in real well. That's good and snug. And by the time I glue that up, that'll be great. All right. So the only thing I have to do is kind of put this in here. and get it centered up. And I think it's about a 1/2 inch on each side as far as my reveal. But I'll measure it again, and we'll do that step. All right, so for my next step, I'm just going to use some of this tight bond wood glue, but it's dark for dark wood. And so this winch wood, I'm going to use obviously this dark. So if I was using chestnut, I mean not chestnut, if I was using a brain fart here. If I was using walnut, there you go. It took me a while to figure out what wood I was talking about. And I just want to put a good amount in there, and I'll wipe out some of this excess. But when you're doing a glue up, you want squeeze out. And I always have a damp rag or damp towel close by. I just put that back in my sink. And so now I just take my sign, and I just want to make sure that I got, that's just darker right there. Let's make that the back. And so I'm just going to take my sign there and stick it in the mortise and tenon, let it do its thing. Kind of press it in there a little bit. Recheck my measurements. That's a 1/2 inch. That's about 7/16. I'm gonna bump it to the right a little bit, and so that's about center. Now I'm just going to be real careful and take my damp cloth, wipe all. Now I just cut these long, and so I'm going to go back and trim it off later on, but I got to make sure they're kind of squared up and looking good here. Oh, here we go. Pop that in there, and then from in here, that one went in a little bit easier. Now see how they're hanging long like that? That's fine. That's good for now, because I'll just take my my dovetail saw, and then I'll just go down here and just trim it up on the sides, or you can take the bandsaw. But this dovetail saw does such a clean cut, I'll probably just use it instead. You can kind of see the stock right there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera like this, but there's a slight crown in this. But also, I wanted to show you too, real close up of that. That's the little inlay. Now this piece is already finished out. I'll probably shoot another little clear coat on this. The end grains always soak up clear coat really bad. But you can see how that finished out real well. I mean, you know, you can obviously tell because of the slight little lines in there, but you know, that's all part of the construction and the construction of this project. But it gives it a nice, clean, finished out look. And I love the winch wood, this dark. I mean, you see, it just gets all shiny. And so with the pine, this turned out to be a nice little presentation. First place, spring turkey hat. You know, on this project, I just used the Minwax. It's water-based polyacrylic, and it gives it a nice finish. And usually, what I do on my my projects, of course, I sand it all the way down. I go from, and this wood was already finished out real well, so I really started out at about 320, 400. I'm looking over here on my board. I did 320, 400. And then jumped all the way up to like 1,000. And so I'll lay down a couple coats, but you know, before you do that, you wipe it down with a tack cloth or a damp towel, making sure you don't throw down lint on there. But it's a good towel to do finish work with, or even a strong paper towel works well. And so I'll throw down 2 coats of clear coat, and then go over it with about a 1500 sandpaper. A lot of people use steel wool, but you know, all the little fibers and everything, I just use sandpaper, go back over it, and it kind of, you know, it'll leave a white, little hazy kind of look on it, but it kind of gets the orange peel out of the bumpiness out of the wood, out of your finish. And so you just go down with that 1500 and just lightly sand it and just kind of knock off the high spots. if you were doing an auto body, it's called orange peel. So you knock down the orange peel, and then I usually throw down about 2 more coats, and just trying to, on the end grains, how I said they just kind of soak up the clear coat. Yeah, so I just kind of hit spots like that. Now on this project, I didn't put in, a lot of times I'll put Danish oil on a project, and so it brings back the natural colors of the wood, and then go back with a lacquer or something like that. But on this, I just shot clear coat, and it brought out the colors that I wanted. So I was just really looking for contrasting colors on this, and it really makes the sign pop. Don't you think so? I do. So anyway, looks cool, and I'm real happy with it. Hey, all right, so cool deal. Thanks again for watching the Sawdust Dude. This has been a fun project because kind of got to use new technology with the Hula Girl CNC machine. Some old joinery techniques, mortise and tenon, with some kind of like new glue, brown glue. Who'd have thunk it, huh? But hey, the guys at Type Bond thought about it. But anyway, a great wood glue. Got to use the Craig router table, which I really like. I really love that table. And got to help some people out in turn. So good day for the Sawdust Dude. Had a lot of fun. I hope you picked up on some tips, something that you liked. Well, hey, I hope you had a good time today in the micro shop, doing a little woodworking. And that's a cool deal. Got to help some people out. Got to make something cool. And it's a good day for the Sawdust Dude. Hey, thanks again for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Give me a like. Do the notification bell. All those things that you got to do. But I appreciate you watching. Thanks again. And thanks for watching the Sawdust Dude. Oh, yeah.